All right, guys, look at this. How's that for a title slide? Who's sheriff in this western town? Uh, so I don't want to go too much into what the picture represents because that's just a placeholder picture for your mind to imagine Jesus strolling through the western town and showing who's boss. So if you want to now, we haven't done notes here at Ellerslie for a long time. We used to always have them printed. And it is a process, by the way, because our notes, like this one is 16 pages, okay? Now, it's going to move fast. I know that that's very intimidating. It includes pictures. It has all sorts of things in it. But we used to print all of that. And then you would come in and you'd have your own thing of notes. But if you would like to have the notes to go through this, then I'm going to try and do this moving forward where I actually make them downloadable. I tried to turn it into a shorter bit.ly address, and I have to admit that is one of the most complicated addresses, if you want to go to the web page to get this, that I could have imagined. But it is a little shorter than the one I had originally. So sorry about that, guys. I'm sure there's a better way to do bit.ly to make it more simple. But that's today's notes, and I will give it again at the end if you want to grab it at the end. So we did a stage play last night on this stage called Dragon Mountain. Very, very powerful performance. We're going to be doing that throughout this upcoming season, I think 8 more times. And so I'd highly encourage you to come up with an excuse to see it again. It is a very, very fun performance and a very meaningful message. I'm going to read you a stage play here just to start this out. Now, I'm an odd character. A few years ago, I'm trying to articulate something in my own soul. I'm trying to put things into words. And so I wrote 4 stage plays to enunciate it. That's how I enunciated it to myself. So I don't know how many of you even would have heard this, even like Philip and Nathan. I think I may have read this to David Coleman. I'm not positive. I just have this thought that I may have, but I'm not sure if I read it to anyone. So I came up with these 3 satirical ones, and then I had one very serious one. So I'm going to start out, and this is called Who's Sheriff in This Western Town? So no accident there. And I'm going to just read through the stage play. I have characters for it and various things, which is very fun. This is tremendously enjoyable for me. Whether or not you guys will enjoy it at the same level, I have no idea. But there's a reason that I'm sharing this, and I'll get to that. So introducing Bad Charles and his 4 stinky banditos. So here's Bad Charles and his 4 stinky banditos. So when I was putting this together, I was also casting it. So some of you are going to recognize some of these characters on the screen. I figured that Charles Sepiel, who I don't know how many of you know Charles, that's one of my buddies right there. He's Charlie Joe Chai. If you drink Charlie Joe Chai at our coffee camper, that's Charlie Joe right there. So I was thinking Charlie, he'd be Bad Charles, okay? And then I have Mike Hahn, who's not here. It would be fun if Mike Hahn was here, but he's over his little feet. And then Aaron Vogel, Steve Rosen. I don't think Steve is here either, so he can't truly appreciate that he's Bad Steve. That's Bad Mike, Bad Aaron, Bad Steve, and there's Bad Eric too. I'm one of the stinky banditos in this as well. And then introducing the sheriff, also known as Truth. And so here's who I had typecast for this one, David Coleman, who is here, so he can enjoy this. I asked him for him to send a picture for me, and he didn't know what I was using it for, so I got this one. And I was going to use some AI and put a hat on him and everything. I could not figure out how to do it. It kept giving me some different characters. Like, that's not what I want. I want David Coleman with a cowboy hat. But I couldn't get that, so we just have this picture. But I think you guys will enjoy this. And I was trying at this time, this is quite a few years ago, I was trying to get David to catch the vision for being an actor. I actually think he has the stuff to be a great actor. And he just keeps pushing it away. So I'm doing a fresh movement with him here. All right, so he's the sheriff in this. So you could use your mental pictures of how this works on the stage. Just imagine a stage play for this. Okay, so without further ado, our story begins. Bad Charles and his 4 stinky banditos stand menacingly in front of a young sheriff. The outlaw gang carries with them the air of confidence and the smirk of dominance. Bad Charles. This town is ours now, Mac. You're through, tough guy. Your days of bravado and brawn are over. Ha 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 ha. What a sad, pathetic end to the road. Bad Mike says, you stink. Bad Eric, yeah. Bad Charles, there was a time when your silver star bewitched this town, but now you're nothing but a lily-livered outlaw too afraid to speak up for fear that your ignorance might be exposed. Bad Steve says, you are dumb. And then Bad Aaron says, yeah. Bad Charles, I'm sheriff around here now, Mac. And if I so much as see your lily-livered face in these parts, I'll fill my boot with swamp water and pour it down your gullet. Bad Mike and Bad Aaron go, ha, 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 ha. And Bad Steve and Bad Aaron snort, snort, snort. Truth says, let me through, guys. I've got a job to do. Bad Charles, ha, 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 ha. He wants us to let him through, boys. Bad Mike and Bad Eric, ha, 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 ha. Bad Steve and Bad Aaron snort, snort. Truth, look, I hate to bring up the fact that 2,750 years ago this moment was foretold, and in it, it shows that I win. Bad Charles squirms awkwardly and then lets out a loud laugh. Truth, hold on one moment. It's in my sock. Let's see here. Yeah, it's right here, right around hair 18, Clear's throat. It is written, this is Jeremiah 51:18, they are worthless, objects to be ridiculed. When the time comes to punish them, they will be destroyed. Bad Steve, that's dumb. Bad Aaron, yeah. Truth, guys, it's just not a good idea to stand against the truth. Hey, where's my placard? Could someone throw me my placard? Someone throws a placard from offset. Truth catches and sticks around his neck. It says, Truth. I realize I'm kind of skinny looking, which gives off the impression that I'm weak. And yes, I'll acknowledge that I'm a bit older than even Brad Pitt, but truth wins. Always. Bad Charles. Face it, loser. We're all standing against you. Bad Mikey steps forward, boasting a media placard around his neck. Bad Aaron steps forward, boasting an education placard about his neck. Bad Steve steps forward, boasting an idiot's placard about his neck. Bad Charles clears his throat to indicate that Steve has something wrong with his placard. Steve realizes it and switches his placard to the other side to read science. Bad Eric strides forward, boasting a correctness placard. Bad Charles, see? We're bigger, stronger, and much better looking. Truth nods knowingly. Truth points at Bad Charles. Everyone else looks at Bad Charles and realizes that he doesn't have his placard on. Bad Charles, what? Truth, you don't have your placard on. Bad Charles, you're right, man, yelling off stage. Hey, Natalie, can you toss me my super cool title placard? Sign comes flying in from offset. Bad Charles catches it and in a completely different tone says, thanks, Nat, you're gold. Then he turns with a snarl and comes back into character. The sign in his neck says, the fool. Truth chuckles. Bad Charles, what's so funny, toad breath? Truth, your sign? Bad Charles, what about it? Truth, do you guys know what it says? Bad Steve, yeah. Bad Mike, snort, yeah. All the bad guys laugh derisively. That's all the bad guys were like, ha, 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 ha. Truth, guys, it says the fool. Bad Charles, no, it does not. It says the cool. The four stinky banditos, yeah, it says the cool. Truth, guys, I hate to break it to you, but your sign reads the fool. Charles gets uncomfortable, looks closer at the sign and shouts, Natalie! Truth, hold it. I've got it somewhere here. I think it's in my left sleeve. I've got some really good Proverbs in here. Here it is. Proverbs 10:8. A prating fool will fall. Bad Charles topples over. Truth looks at Bad Mike. Truth, Isaiah 41:29. They are all false. Their deeds amount to nothing. Their images are but wind and confusion. Bad Mike, who's media, falls to the ground. He looks at Bad Steve, who's science. Truth, in the beginning, God? Bad Steve falls. He looks at Bad Aaron, education. Romans 1:22, professing to be wise, they became fools. Bad Aaron collapses. He looks at Bad Eric, correctness. Proverbs 14:12, there's a way that seems right to a man, but its end is the way of death. Bad Eric crumples. The town bursts into loud applause. Truth whispers to himself, looks like I've still got it. The song Truth Wins begins. There's a song. This is a musical. So Truth Wins. The Bandito Quartet, which are all laying on the ground defeated, they sing, who's the sheriff in this western town? Who's really in control? Who's got it down? Bad Charles sings. Remember, he's laying on the ground too. I guess it's not me. I'm laying on the ground. Truth sings, accompanied by Bad Charles and the Bandito Quartet. Truth won, truth wins. Truth always controls the spin. Truth ruled, truth rules. Truth is over all these Mr. Cools. Truth sings, is still accompanied by this great band. Truth doesn't bend, but it will bend every knee. Truth Truth doesn't change, but it changed all history. Truth doesn't die, but it died the cross with a signal victory. The Bandito Quartet sings, truth won, truth wins, truth kicked us in the shins. Truth then sings, truth was, truth is, and truth will always be. And then truth walks to center stage and says confidently, the real sheriff in this western town. The end. All right, guys, now you have to admit. So the reason I'm sharing this, first of all, this is very delightful for me because this is the world of Eric that doesn't get unlocked very often. We joke many times that there's a certain side of Eric that gets bottled up because I have to be so serious in what I do. And so it gets to, the good thing about having Hudson around and doing this theater stuff is I get to unlock some of those qualities. When Ellerslie was first starting, we were trying to do mailing lists. And do you remember this, Annie? And I had list 1 and list 2, but I had the picture of thing 1 and thing 2 from Dr. Seuss. And so it was like list 1 and list 2. And I thought it was really funny. And yet it didn't really fit the tone of Ellerslie, what we were trying to set here, which was high standards, high honor. And so that side of me, the thing 1 and thing 2 side, always gets sort of quelled. So every now and then, I get a sermon that just sort of unlocks a few things. So there's a reason why I'm bringing this up, and it really has nothing to do with thing 1, thing 2, or this side of me that enjoys humor. It's that sometimes God starts something in our lives, and we can anticipate the end of it, but it doesn't always go the exact way we intend. And yet, even though it doesn't go in the way we intend, there's still a responsibility we have as believers to cultivate and nurture the burdens that God gives us. And so I have a challenging life in the sense that God has given me many burdens. What am I supposed to do with those? Sometimes we start with gusto when we move forward with our burdens, and then the circumstances change in our life where we almost come to the conclusion, well, obviously that's not what God was wanting to do, and so we let go of something that God was placing in our heart, and we don't care for it. That's part of what I want to address today. So I'm going to call it the sacredness of vision. When you are seeing clearly where God wants you to go, it's actually a very, very precious and valuable thing in your life. And you want to caretake for that and not take it lightly. Many of you might be in a season where you don't have clarity of vision. And so when you don't have clarity of vision, you understand the value of it. When you're in Kansas, you understand the value of the mountains. When you're hanging out in Colorado, you sometimes take the mountains for granted. And so when you're in a season where you are in flat Kansas and no vision, sorry to throw a dart at Kansas. Doesn't that just sound like I'm being rude towards Kansas? Yeah, sorry about that. But at the same time, when you are in flatlands, you appreciate the mountains. And I don't know if the same is true in reverse. When you're in the mountains, you appreciate the flatland. I don't know about that. That sounded like another bash against Kansas, didn't it? So sorry. There's nothing wrong with Kansas. But the sacredness of vision, caring for the little burdens God stows inside our souls. Somehow we lost the end of that one. In other words, God deposits something. That one statement that says, without a vision, the people perish, most translations will actually capitalize the word vision, which is odd because we always interpret that as like our little miniature human visions, when in actuality, it's a picture of Jesus. Capital V vision is Jesus. And without a clear vision, you begin to melt down. You don't have a solid rock beneath your feet. Winds and rain start beating against your life, and you don't have a solid foundation with which to face those challenges. And so what we are given when we're given vision may not be capital V always. We need the capital V, but he also gives us lowercase v vision. And I would say the same is true. Without even the lowercase v vision, we can perish. We can lose that sense of what gets us up in the morning. If you've ever been in one of those seasons where you're lacking vision, a clear sense of purpose, just to stick your feet on the floor in the morning and get out of bed with gusto is actually a major feat. And so the value of vision is very, very important. And being one of those guys that sometimes gets tagged a visionary, which I don't know is always a compliment, by the way, because some people make fun of visionaries because we translate as the people that are like, oh, we could do this. Oh, no, we could do this. I am not like that, but still people think of me that way sometimes. I've been doing the same thing for a long time. Just ponder that, those of you that think of me as just a visionary. But I am a visionary, but I'd say a lowercase v version of whatever you're thinking. I have ideas, and I desire to do large things in this earth. I really have a difficult time aiming small. It's one of those challenges I face. It's like, well, we need to upgrade this. When Ellerslie started, instinctively, I'm thinking we need to do this all over the world. The number one thing God has done is said, do it here and do it well. And so we were offered campuses all over the world, literally, to expand this and to do this in other places. And we have kept it in one place to make sure we tend to the vision instead of allow the vision, sort of like the tail, to wag the dog. So there's a sacredness to this. So this is, I didn't tell Abby I was going to put this in, but this is special memories. Abby at age 5, I even have a picture of her at age 5, almost at the exact date that she wrote this. But this is a poem. This is her first, was this a song, Abby? This is her first song that she ever wrote, and it's called When the Wind Blows. And so there's little Abby at age 5. And this was the song. When the wind blows, it's a really good time to come outside. Believe in him. Oh, that was very precious to me. And I also feel like, just like most of what's going on in my life right now is tending to small things like this, to not forsake and forget the beauty of what God has done in my life and what he has already spoken in my life, what he has already deposited in my life. And here's one of them. I remember when Abby shared this, I felt like that was God speaking to me. We were in a very important time in this church. This is a long time ago. 2015, I think, is when this was. And we were in a very significant movement where we were meeting every week for prayer, and God was doing something very powerful in this church. And the idea was, if the wind is blowing, then it's very important to go out and meet it, to put your sail up and catch it. Don't just presume upon the wind. Oh, it'll keep blowing, and when I get around to it, I'll go out and get it. So it's like that's what my daughter in her first song was, in a sense, saying to me, even though she may not have been intending it purposely. God was using what was taking place to sort of clarify something. Eric, put your sail up and catch this. Don't ever take it for granted. When I'm moving in my church, you want to make sure that you're coming outside to greet it. So that's the idea of keeping your sail up. Now, I've never been a sailor. I have been on, the ocean and sailed, so it's not that I haven't done it, but if you were to say, Eric, could you take this sailing craft and navigate it? I would say, nope. No, I couldn't do that. I don't know exactly what these things are called. I know some of the words, mast and jib and, things like that. But if you ask me which one's which, oh, okay, I know what the mast is. That's ridiculous. I do know that one. But if you were to say, how do you, change this over here? And we're just going to sink, guys, if I'm in charge of it. So I'm a terrible guy to be talking about sails. At the same time, I know that they catch wind. Is that enough, to at least make me dangerous this morning? They catch winds. And if your sail is not up, you're not going to catch the wind. And so for all of us, what I would like to invite us to do is stick our sail up. That's a form of expectancy. I've lived my life in seasons where I'm at the edge of my seat with my ears tuned, knowing God is doing something in my life. And there's other seasons where I sort of slouch and I fail to listen. And I'm going to just tell you, the successful seasons are the ones where I'm anticipating. I'm expectant that God is doing something. The importance of momentum. So if you hang around me, you're always going to hear this comment. And momentum, I call it sacred momentum, that if I'm writing a book, it's all about momentum. And so I'm going to be protective of my momentum. So Leslie will hear me say, well, I have momentum on this. I better keep going on this. And it's not always, it doesn't always translate the best, because that might mean, I can't do this because I have momentum on this. It doesn't always translate well. But to me, momentum is the essence of how things move forward. And so if God is doing something in my life, I want to agree with it, and I want to keep the momentum of it. When momentum is lost, you can lose very precious things. So I have worked on projects, creative projects, where, say it's a book, and I write maybe, half the book. And then you take 2 years off from a book that you've been written, and I guarantee you, it's not one of those things you just sit back down and, oh, I'll keep writing that. You have to literally spend time. You read that through multiple times, just sort of soak in it again and try and, get your vision. If I ever have to take a break from a book, I will literally write down in notated form every thought I ever have about where the book is going, because I'm never going to presume that it's just going to come back to me. So now, not all of you are writing books, but you're, in a sense, working on a life story. This whole life story where you have this anticipation of something God is doing, and it's actually important that you move in agreement with that you move forward at the pace that God has set. Because the best projects are accomplished little by little. Did you guys know that? Little by little. I can think of one of the best projects God has ever worked on, and that is taking the land of Canaan. Okay, so you have the Israelites that are crossing the Jordan, and they are going to be entering into this land of Canaan. And God is going to, in the book of Exodus, give them very specific directives of how to take the land. So listen to this. Exodus 23. I will not drive them out from before you in 1 year. Why not? Come on. God, you're God. You're more than capable of driving them out before the Israelites just immediately. All you have to do is speak it, and all the enemy could just fall over and collapse. I will not drive them out from before you in 1 year, lest the land become desolate and the beasts of the field become too numerous for you. Little by little, I will drive them out from before you until you have increased and you inherit the land. This is the way God takes your life too. He does it little by little, and it's one of those astounding things that is hard for us to comprehend. Why wouldn't the God of the universe just conquer all of our challenges inside of us? Why wouldn't he just, lay them out? Remember, bad Charles, bad Mikey, bad Aaron. It's just like, speak it, they're flattened. They crumple to the ground. He could do that. But there's a reason. Here the reason is because the beasts of the field would take over the land. Someone needs to occupy it. However, in our life, whatever the equivalent of that would be, he knows it is best suited for us that we are sanctified and conformed into his image through a process as opposed to through the snap of a finger. And that is a profound thing that many of us struggle to comprehend. But when we agree with God's pattern and we recognize that God's saying, okay, we're going to cross the Jordan now. All right, now we're going to take on Jericho. Okay, now we're going to take on Ai. You see, city by city or stronghold by stronghold, God is going to lead us. But the key is that we walk in agreement with that. And if we do, in due time, the entire land will be dealt with. The 31 hostile empires of Canaan will, in fact, be destroyed. And God's purposes in that land will be established. So, yes, we're talking about the ancient land of Canaan, but in the promised land, but we're also talking about our lives. This is the pattern of God. The tragedy of 2006, a little Ludy life was lost. So this is a key moment in our life, our ministry, our family development, when we are going to miscarry a little life that we named Scout. We were reading To Kill a Mockingbird at the time, and there was a line given by the town drunk, which I know it sounds terrible that the town drunk was an inspiration to us, but the town drunk in this town, I forgot what the town in To Kill a Mockingbird was called, but I think it was Dill. Do you guys remember? That book is just a masterpiece, but Dill was so moved because he saw the injustice in this town towards the black people. And so he was moved to tears just because he saw the lack of justice. He saw how they were treating him. So he went out into the town square and he was crying over the injustice of the fact that this life was devalued. And the town drunk, who was not really drunk, came up to him and said, "It's only the children that still cry." And that was a statement that really impacted us, because when we first found out that we miscarried, I wanted to have the stiff upper lip and be a strong leader through it. So my initial response was, okay, we're going to be fine. We're going to work our way through this. And, so I'm thinking I'm going to be the strong one here. And in my mind, I'm even thinking it was only like 6 to 8 weeks along. That's okay. Okay. Praise God, it wasn't longer. Okay, I don't know if you see some of the tripping spots that could be there for my soul, because in my mind, I'm subtly devaluing the life to sort of maintain my psychology as I go through this. And God had nothing to do with that. I still remember, this is sort of, if I can put words to a conversation with God, which is hard to do, right? And that is, Eric, I'm crying. I care. I'm grieving. If you don't grieve, no one on this earth is grieving for this life. You are my representation. You are my body. So I grieve through you. That is how I reveal my heart to the world, is how you respond to that which is happening in this world. So if you're not caring, who is? And suddenly I had this thought that if no one cared for Scout, how about all the other children out there, whether it's miscarried or aborted, all the ones that are being overlooked? Does anyone care? This was a huge moment in my soul, like the awakening. I mean, I've adopted 4 kids since this point, so you can sort of see something was transforming, and it's all going to start right here. That when something is realized, when you have that grief, when you have that brokenness, suddenly God is able to plant vision unlike any other time in your life. So the lesson of 2006, when God starts something, he brings that something to completion. This is a very interesting reasoning point, because the issue of miscarriage is a very sensitive one, because even in this room, I guarantee you, there's probably quite a few of us that have walked through it. It's not one of those things we like to talk about, but it's a very real challenge that we face. And when you're going through a miscarriage, you have a tendency to look at what's wrong with you, which, there's a part, benefit to that. And it could be a emotional tangle, I'll just say that. But here's my conclusion as I go through that. First of all, that God values this little life. Therefore, I'm going to value it too. And that means he values all these lives that other people are totally dismissing. And I want to value them too. Lord, give me your heart towards the unvalued. I want to carry that inside of me. But then also to reason and recognize that when God starts something, his intention for it isn't to abort it or miscarry it. That the fact that I have endured a miscarriage does not mean that's God's intention. And I want to preserve God's intentions in my life. Why things happen is a hard thing to answer always. Sort of like the man born blind. Was he born blind because of his parents' sin or his sin? Neither in that situation. And so the same thing could be said of a miscarriage. It's not necessarily because of one man's sin or another's. It could be for the glory of God in and through this. However, one of the things we know is that God doesn't sponsor blindness. He doesn't just go, hey, I want this guy blind. Because of this world in which we are in, because of this world that is contorted and depraved because of sin, we have weeds in our garden. It's not because God's like, oh, I'd love to plant a weed right there. It's the results of a sin-ridden world. But God will leverage that in our life when we have these points of pain. He will leverage that into something that grows us stronger. And that's his amazing superpower. It's called redemption. So Philippians 1:6, he who has begun a good work in you will complete it until the day of Jesus Christ. So when Leslie was pregnant with Avi, that became a very, very important thing for us to stand on. It's truth is what it is. Who is the sheriff in this western town? We have so many voices that will speak to us. The question is truth ruling the streets of your soul? And do you know how to wield that 6-shooter of the Word of God in your own soul to bring low those things which are mocking God's intentions in your life? So here's the truth. God doesn't miscarry. Now, this is an important thing for you to just sort of swallow and digest. When God starts something in you, he intends to bring it to completion. That's what he promises. When he's in your western town, with his 6-shooter, his goal is to shoo away everything that would stand against his agenda in your life. I've experienced miscarriage, and I know many of you have in here. I'm not necessarily just talking about physical miscarriage. I'm talking about spiritual. God entrusts you with a little life in your soul, a vision, a sense of purpose. The enemy's agenda is to snuff that out, is to have bad Charles, bad Mikey, bad Aaron, bad Stephen, bad Eric stand around and hinder the forward progression of what God has started in you. And for us, we need to make sure that our sheriff has his badge on and he is clearly in control of this life. God doesn't miscarriage, and that's the truth. When he begins something, he brings it to completion. So he has started something in you. Asia, he started something in you on Friday. His intention is to bring that to completion. That is a truth that you can build your life around. A brush with the immortal, the exquisite power found in following Malak Yahweh. Okay, you probably don't know who Malak Yahweh is. It's actually Jesus Christ in the Old Testament. Pretty cool thing, and typically translated as, like if you see a translation, it's angel with a capital A, which is the Malak. But it's not just the normal messenger, it's not just an angel. They don't know how to say it in the Hebrew, it's just there it is. But it's actually a picture of the invisible God. And so in Exodus 23, we see this angel. Behold, I send an angel before you to keep you in the way and to bring you into the place which I have prepared. Now that's an incredible parallel with the New Testament. First of all, Joshua is the one leading them in the physical sense, and his name is the same as Jesus, Yeshua, same name. And he is bringing them into the land of promise, out of the wilderness, out of the law, into the land of grace. We see a parallel there. But who's the one that brings them in? Malak Yahweh. That's the same one who brings us in. So before I send you an angel before you to keep you in the way and to bring you into the place which I have prepared, so you shall serve the Lord your God, and he will bless your bread and your water, and I will take sickness away from the midst of you. No one shall suffer miscarriage or be barren in your land. I will fulfill the number of your days. I don't know. Sorry, guys, that I'm missing some key words in here. So look at this, guys. No one shall suffer miscarriage. I remember Leslie and I going back to this at the time in 2006. And it's just like, okay, when Malak Yahweh, when Jesus Christ, Yeshua, our Yeshua, leads us into our land of promise, this is his intention. He intends the things that are within us to grow unto completion. That's what he does. And so we stood on that very strongly. Now, it wasn't just in the physical side. When I say miscarriage, we're always thinking of physical baby, which is not wrong. But how about the spiritual baby? And so this is beginning something in our life, which is what we call no miscarriage. So that's what we would bark when we would have something that God was doing. We're like, we feel God's given us something, we're going to move it forward, and all hell breaks loose against it. We would say no miscarriage and stare it down. We'd bring the sheriff into the town. And we're like, okay, we have bad Charles and his, 4 stinky banditos surrounding us. And yet, what's the truth right now? The motto of Eric and Leslie Ludy in 2007 and beyond, no miscarriage. I'm not just talking about physical miscarriage. I'm talking about the spiritual stuff that God is cultivating in us. That he is doing something and starting something, inspiring forward movement. The wind is blowing, put up your sail, catch it, and when all hell stands against it, make sure you remember, no miscarriage. God starts, God brings to completion. This is the groundwork that we want to make sure we're standing on. Learning to protect the little burdens and nurturing them unto a full maturity. Now, there's a deeper reason why I'm giving this, in my Father's Day message. And like I said, this is probably like a gift to me as a father. God is doing something very deep inside of me, and I don't totally have words for it. This message is sort of my beginning point to express something, which we can all look back on and go, wow, I was there for that. We've been going through an archival project where we're getting all our old photos, all our old ministry correspondences, all our old videotapes and audio cassettes. I mean, this is like the old stuff from back in the 90s. And like our wedding video, our, first video where we ever sat down and shared our love story. The first time I ever laid eyes on Leslie when she walked out onto stage singing at a musical. Found it. Well, there's a video. Now, I don't have a video player, so I haven't even seen it yet, So it's like, boy, we need to figure that one out. However, it's like all these memories are coming back. And I feel like God is walking me through a season of recovery. that there are things that he has given me that the enemy, or Bad Charles and his quartet, have been laboring overtime to diminish. I'm 54, and there's been a lot of voices in my life, Bad Charles and his quartet, that have told me that my season of strength is past, that I'm reaching that expiration point where my voice will not have the credibility moving forward that it had in the past. What's funny is you go back into the past, and that was the same thing the enemy was telling me back then. I have always had the same voices speaking to me. Bad Charles, don't you feel bad for Charles Sepiel that he has to be known as Bad Charles in this? It's just his face being used, right? It's an acting role. Bad Charles and the Bandidos have been speaking to me for a long time. My guess is they probably spent a lot of time with you as well. And they tell us that we are not fit, that we are unable, that there really is no reason to keep moving forward in these directions. The question is, are you going to believe that? Or do you have a sheriff in your western town that is willing to silence them with the clear word of God on the importance and the significance of your life and our life together? The last great vision. So we're going to go back a few years. I don't know when this was. I didn't look this bit of data up. But I had a thought, and it stirred me, and it stirred Leslie. Leslie and I were praying about it for quite some time, and I wrote it out. I wrote quite a few stage plays, and I did. I actually wrote stage plays to try and articulate what it was. I don't know why I think that way. I just write it in a paragraph form, but I write a stage play to sort of enunciate something to me. And so this doesn't even quite say it, but it was to build a soul-winning church. I already had a church, right? But this was different. For extremely serious Christianity. Like that's actually our brand. Extremely serious Christianity. Not the seeker-sensitive, extremely serious. You want to be extremely serious? This is your version. But it was a soul-winning church. It's a weird way of describing a church. A soul-winning church that overtakes Northern Colorado and then beyond. Like just start to eat up this world with truth, right? And there's a lot more to it. That doesn't say much, and that's because my point isn't to try and say a lot about that. But I wrote it out. I had a whole presentation. I was going to set it before our pastoral team, which included, it was about 8 or 9 of us at the time, which most of them right now are on the other side of town with the church, Windsor Christian Fellowship, that grew out of this. And so here was my deal with God. God, you've given me something here. I'm going to submit it. And if this is something that you are pushing forward now, I trust that there will be resonance, and it will be 100% resonance. My leadership style is 100% agreement. It's my leadership style with Leslie. If we're not 100% agreed, I don't do it. And we've always moved forward in 100% consensus. And so that's my leadership style with Ellerslie. If it's not 100% consensus, even if there's one person says, I don't feel comfortable with this, all right, I'll lay it down. The submission. If they like it, we go for it. If they don't, I know it was not God's design. I'm fascinated if you guys want to guess of what happened. They didn't like it. And I laid it down. This is a key moment in my life. First of all, it was out of obedience. But if you were to follow my life from this exact point forward and say, so what's your next vision? I have not had a clear vision since then. I laid something down, and it was very hard because I felt a momentum. You've ever had that and you have to just give it up? It was an Isaac moment where he took the Isaac. Wait a minute. In Genesis 22, he raises his knife, and then from the bush nearby, and it all turns out great. And yet in this situation, something was given up. And I have struggled. If any of you hang out with me, I am a guy that has always had a clear sense of where I'm going. I'm an anomaly in the system. I don't even know who to compare myself with, right? But I have a world-sized idea, that's like burning a hole in my soul. And over the last season, I haven't had that. I know what I'm supposed to do here, and I'm going to do what I do here with excellence. However, God, what is it? Because I'm missing something. I call this the 400 years of silence. That's probably a misnomer. It wasn't 400 years. I'm not 454 years old, by the way. However, to sort of symbolize that there's a season when God is speaking and suddenly, he still speaks to me, by the way, but not in the regards to vision. I've been praying for clarity of vision for a long time. A long time. I've always had it, and now suddenly I don't have something. And so I'll call it the 400 years of silence. That's really not the accurate way of saying it, but within my soul. The last vibrant vision of Eric Ludy is God returning me there somehow, some way. Now, this is important because as I'm going through my archives, as I'm digging through things, there was something that happened, I don't know, it was maybe a couple weeks ago, and I haven't even really talked it through at a great depth with Leslie, just hinted at it. I haven't talked it through with anyone else. But God is stirring in me something, and I wanted to bring it out this morning in a certain fashion. And so I'm asking a question, is God returning me there somehow, some way? It's not the vision I had, but there's something about it. It's almost like the mechanics of it that God, I almost feel like, is planting afresh in my soul. I'm not sure what to do with it yet. So the last vibrant vision of Eric Ludy, I'm going to give you the tagline. Remember, I'm always turning things into plays, and so I had all sorts of stage plays with this. The tagline is bringing back the majesty. I believe that Christianity has lost something. It's lost the bigness of God. I call it the majesty of God. We have a very smallish God these days, and it really bothers me. So here's a log line. Strengthen the hands which hang down and the feeble knees and make straight paths for your feet. Strengthen the things which remain that are ready to die. The rising of the grace-empowered church that prays with fervent faith and confesses with fervent love. These statements deeply stir me. This is something God started in me years and years and years ago. And so when I encountered this and brushed against it a couple weeks ago, it was like it ignited something within me. It's like, whoa, 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 what's that? I'm feeling something. I always liken the clear movement of grace in my life to warmth. It's just my terminology for it. But it's like warm. So I said, I feel there's like a warmth in me about that. And whenever I have that warmth, it's like, okay, I want to follow it further. When we were moving to the campus, the idea of moving my family to the campus is the craziest idea. But I had warmth towards it. I had a peace. It's like, I actually sense we're supposed to take this to the next step. All right, the controlling idea of this is a church on the offense instead of on the defense. Okay, I don't know if that excites any of you guys, but boy, does that stir me. A church on the offense instead of on the defense. I really do not like the idea of building bomb shelters and hiding out in them as our means of solving the current dilemmas of our culture. Is that we're the trembling ones instead of understanding that we have a sheriff in our western town that wields all the power and all the authority. The Church of Jesus Christ was meant to be aggressive in its disposition and not merely reactive towards the powers of darkness and the realities of countless millions of souls bound in sin. So here's the simple statement: to win souls and disciple serious Christians. Okay, and some of you could say, well, that's what you're doing now. I would agree. So what's the difference? It's hard to describe. But it's like God's stoking. He's like throwing a log on the fire. And there's something that is happening inside of me, and I'm not sure what it is, but I'm excited. Whenever I get that anticipation, I know, because I've walked with God for a long time, I know God is doing something. And so then I lean in as opposed to slouch. My feet get out of bed really easily in the morning. I have a little skip to my step because God is doing something, even if I don't know what it is. I remember getting up and I had this sense that God was doing, same sense. And this is going back 31, 32 years, somewhere in there. And I get out of bed in the morning, I'm in Michigan, and I'm skipping, down the hall. It was 4:41 a.m. I used to always get up at 4:41. It had to be an odd time too, and it's weird. And so I was just so excited that my sister was living in the same little home with me, and I was like, Chrissy! And she's like, what do you need? She comes out, she's like, what do you need? I go, I don't know, just excited. And she's like, great. And she goes back into her room. And so my skin was dry, it's middle of winter, and so I can't find my lotion. Oh, I left it in my coat pocket. So I skip down the hall. I'm like, whoo, 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 doing my thing. And I reach in the coat pocket for my lotion, found it, but there was also an envelope in there, and it said, "For Eric" on it. It looked like, a little kid's handwriting was my mind for it. So I was like, one of my kids that I was teaching had colored some coloring book page and stuck it in an envelope. So I brought it back with me. And I'm just happy as can be. And I was praying at that exact time that God would supply money for a wedding ring. Didn't have the money in what I was doing, but I knew Leslie would be meaningful for her to have a wedding ring. So I decided to see which kid had made a coloring book page for me. It wasn't a coloring book page. It was a wad of cash, of $100 bills. And there was a piece of paper wrapped around it that said, "He is Jehovah Jireh." And there was a picture of a wedding ring. I had never told anyone other than my sister about what we were praying for. We prayed for it every day. So when I get that expectancy, when I get that sense that God is doing something, you have to recognize I have a long history of those sorts of moments where God has gone out of his way to give me an anticipation so that I am ready. It's almost like, "Hey, Eric. It's like he's going to throw a ball my way. It's like, oh, and I'm ready to receive it. There's nothing worse than getting hit in the side of the head with a football, right? God's saying, "Hey, I'm about to throw you something." Oh, okay. Excited to catch it. So in this document that I was looking through in the last couple of weeks, there were the threes. I know it doesn't make any sense to you, but there's the three everyones, the three everydays, and the three everythings. This stirs me. I don't know if it'll stir you. The three everyones. A place where everyone is being discipled, everyone is involved, and everyone is sharing the gospel with others. Could you imagine a place like that? I'll read it again because some of you, it's just so absurd that you just even, glaze over. A place where everyone is being discipled. Everyone is involved and everyone is sharing the gospel with others. All right, the three everydays. We spiritually exercise every day. We humbly serve every day. We aggressively share every day. The three everythings. In everything, humility. In everything, love. In everything, joy. Boy, I tell you what, those threes stir me. So if God plants those threes, the vision for those threes inside of me, what should I do? How about I caretake for it? And I say, put the sail up. Put the sail up. God's given me something. It's an anticipation. It's a desire. And it has something to do with the threes. So I would call myself a man with ideas that are before their time. It's been proven many times, by the way. I have great ideas that are not ready and ripe yet. You know that what you are a part of here, Ellerslie, was an idea before its time. I had a burden for this before I married Leslie, and I've been married to her for 30 and a half years. And it was 3 years before we got married that this vision was inside of me. And it was 17 years after I had the vision before this started. That's a long time. And that's a hard thing to walk through a season where you have a clear vision. You don't have the finances for it. It's an impossibility. How in the world are you going to do that? But to continue to nurture it and to recognize that God doesn't accidentally give you that stuff. That you are meant to caretake for it and to water it and to nurture it. So what should we do with our little God burdens? We should water them with prayer, nurture them with patience, and weed around them with persistent faith. So this was the 17-year burden of Ellerslie. I remember praying out there under a, what's that called? A gazebo. It was pouring rain. Leslie and I were looking at this building here. We snuck onto the campus because technically it was not ours, right? I don't even know that it was for sale. We knew it was going to be sold. And so we snuck onto the campus. Don't tell anyone. And we were looking at this building, and this is the prayer we prayed. Lord, raise up the next generation of Hudson Taylors and Amy Carmichaels in this building. That's what we prayed years ago. I mean, that's like 20 years ago, maybe. Somewhere around there. When we were praying for this building specifically to be the groundwork place for such a movement of grace. Going after the Remnant, a stage play. Do we have another stage play? We do. So we started with a stage play, and we're going to end with a stage play. This is actually how I wrote out this vision years ago. Now, when I revisited this, it's just like it ignites my soul. I have no idea what it's going to do inside of you. But remember, this is Father's Day, and this is my Father's Day gift. I'm opening it in front of you, and you guys can just go, ooh, ah, as I do. But I have a hunch, just a hunch, that it will bless you guys as well. So going after the Remnant, the stage play. So here's our characters. I'm going to repurpose two of our characters because when I was writing this, I was writing it from a personal vantage point. You have to recognize this wasn't meant to be shared with you. And so I was writing it with me as the pastor. And I'm writing it, technically I don't know if David was the one, but I had a really good picture of David, so I stuck him in there as Charles Lema, which Lema is the Greek for remnant. It's the remnant. It's those that God has commissioned and called that he wants to reach. So you guys ready for this? This is an amazing story. This is a lot more serious. Okay, it is serious. The other one was a satire. The scene, a gritty prison cell, low light. Charles Lema says, "You are not an easy guy to book an interview with, Mr. Ludy." Eric says, "Sorry about that. The Praetorian guard surrounding this place is an affinity for red-colored tape." Charles, "Well, I can certainly see that." Eric removes a lamp from a wooden box, utilizes a bedside table, and slides the box over for Charles to sit on. Charles sits down, opens his notebook, yanks a pen from his coat pocket, looks at his prize interview subject, and lets out a satisfied sigh. "Do you know why I'm here?" says Charles. Eric, "You're hungry." Charles, not expecting that answer, looks down and smiles, even shakes his head. After a few moments, he speaks. Charles, "It's an interesting way to put it. Hungry. I think the word curious would be more befitting. I'm a journalist. This is a story, nothing more." Eric says, "Anyone willing to pass through the screaming picketers outside this place, risk the paparazzi's rancor, break through the red tape of social correctness, walk past the angry stares of the Praetorian, and enter this humble little cell is looking for something more than an interesting interview, Mr. Lema. He's after truth. And he believes it just may be that all this hullabaloo is a smokescreen created by those who don't want him to find it." Charles, "So you think I'm hungry for truth?" Eric, "I know you're hungry for truth, Mr. Lema." The two eye each other for a long moment. Finally, Eric breaks the silence. Eric, "The resistance you have encountered in simply engaging in this interview should be proof enough of the realities of what I'm going to share with you." Charles, "You live in a war zone, Pastor, and to be quite honest, a very unappealing place. You're the laughingstock, the dunce, the refuse to all those out there. The picketers tell me that you are full of hate. The paparazzi tells me that you brainwash people. The Praetorian waves their social guns around at me as if to indicate that even to hold conversation with you makes me an enemy of the system. Your world stinks. And yet, in looking at your face, it would seem you're convinced otherwise." Eric nods knowingly. Charles, "If you had truth, Mr. Ludy, why are you in this dingy cell and those obviously opposed to truth have the freedom, the voice, the power, and the persuasion?" Eric, "What I have for you in this humble cell will prove to you, Mr. Lema, that the true freedom, the true voice, the true power, and the true persuasion are actually right here in this cell and not out there." Charles, "Let me be frank, Mr. Ludy. This is a prison. It is dank. It is dark. It is shameful. It is cold. It is uncomfortable. It is, well, for lack of a better word, deplorable. And you have the gall to tell me that this is freedom?" Eric, "What you see around you right now is a prison cell. You believe me to live in misery and woe. What I see around me is very different." Charles sighs a long sigh, then leans in and whispers to Mr. Ludy. Charles, "I may regret this, but tell me what you see." Eric, "I know what you see, Charles. I once saw only the dank, the dark, the shameful, the cold, the uncomfortable, and the deplorable when I looked upon this cell. But that is merely the indicator that your eyesight is still under the control of this world and that your vision has not yet been recalibrated by Jesus Christ to see what is real." Charles chuckles at that. Eric pauses, looks Charles deep in the eyes, testing him to see if he wants to hear more. Charles, "Okay, I'm sorry, keep going." Eric, "Charles, there's more to see here than a prison cell." Eric again pauses, weighing Charles to see if he really wants to hear. Charles, "What are you seeing, Mr. Ludy?" Eric, "What you see as a prison cell is actually nothing of the sort. This cell is a vestibule." Charles, "I'm sorry, a vestibule?" Eric, "An entryway, an antechamber, a mere passageway into a much greater space. Charles, I don't see any doors in here, any stairwells. How is this a vestibule? Eric, you have an eyesight problem, Charles. Charles, okay, I have an eyesight problem. Eric, what substance is this floor made of? Charles, dirt. Eric, what are you sitting on right now? Charles, a cheap wooden crate. Eric, what is that wall made of over there? Charles, cinder block. Eric, your feet are currently resting on a street of gold, Mr. Remnant. You are sitting on a priceless hand-carved wooden chair chiseled by an artisan named Bezalel over 3,400 years ago. And there is a magnificent picture window over there that looks out on the most lovely and most exquisite mountain range. Charles, you're crazy. Eric, who's the crazy one? The one who chooses to live in a false world of pleasure-infused plastic? Or one who gives up the plastic for something real, something eternal, something beautiful that will never fade? Charles, so according to your reality, I'm the one with the eyesight troubles? Eric nods. Charles, so if what you're saying is true, what would someone like me, with bad vision, do to fix my eyesight? Eric, I'll answer that. But first, explain to me about the world in which you live, Charles. Charles, okay. I agree with you. It's plastic. It's fabricated. It's nonsensical. But to me, it's at least real. I can see it. I can touch it. And even though its pleasures fade, they are still real pleasures. Charles, to do an interview, Mr. Ludy, something's missing here. I think I lost a line there. So Eric says something profound right there. Something like, what are you here for? To do an interview, Mr. Ludy, remember, I'm curious. Eric, you're hungry. Charles pauses and ponders that statement. Okay. I guess there is a part of me that wants to believe that there is something more. And there is something in your manner, your winsome, smiling, confident air that causes me to really wonder if you have something in this prison cell. Something that maybe is more real than what I currently understand is real. Something that even though I can't see it right now, that maybe, just maybe, if I were to turn to Jesus Christ, I too could see it for myself. Eric, it would cost you, Charles. Charles nods. Eric, those that enter this cell by faith must leave their old life behind them. All they have, all they are, all they hope to become, they need to give up their life. Charles, to Jesus? Eric nods. Charles, I get that. As an investigative reporter, I came into this interview with a fairly clear idea of what made you kooks work. Eric, the picketers will mock you. The paparazzi will seek to expose you as a first-class fool. The praetorian will seek to silence you. Long and short, this world will stand against you if you choose to disdain its pleasure-infused plastic life and enter this cell to live here and to find your satisfaction here. Charles is silent for a long while, staring down at the dirt floor. Eric, Charles, I think it's important that you realize something. Charles looks up. Eric, the primary reason you are after this story is not because of your hunger. It's because Jesus Christ is hungry for you. He planted that hunger inside you. He has led you here. He loves you. He wants to rescue you from the vast darkness out there and the eternal judgment that awaits all who refuse the truth. He wants to give you his life. A tear wells in Charles' eyes. A tear wells in Charles's eye and slowly slides down his cheek. Eric, what's going on inside you right now, Charles? Charles has a sudden and unexpected well of emotion. He tries to hold it in but can't seem to. I want to live a different life than the one I'm living. At some level, it doesn't make sense to me, but I want to see what you are seeing. I want to have what you have. Eric, Jesus is your Savior, Charles. He died on the cross 2,000 years ago in order to supply you an avenue of escape, an escape from this falsified form of living. You simply need to let go of the grip you have on your life and hand it over to him. Charles sits for a while processing this. Charles, Jesus, my name is Charles Lema. I have stood against you, mocked you. I mocked those who chose to live in cells like this. But if you will take me, here I am. I'm willing to live in a cell like this if I can have life. Charles, staring at the ground through his tears, suddenly begins to see the dirt transform into gold. He blinks his eyes over and over again. He looks at the box on which he sits and sees its intricate carvings. He softly chuckles an amazed chuckle. He lifts his head and the cinder block suddenly turns glassy and the vast epic frontier opens up before him. He laughs louder and louder. Light increases in the small room and it would seem the room is expanding. Eric stares at him seriously. The camera focuses on Eric while hearing Charles laugh. A tear streams down his cheek, and a smile creases his face, which up to this point has not given much indication of warmth. Eric, welcome to reality, Charles. Charles, what is this place? Eric, you've come to the cross, my brother. Charles, it's extraordinary. Eric, to the world outside, it appears as mere suffering, pain, misery, and death. To those who come here for salvation, it is life, love, joy, peace, and pleasure forevermore. As Eric is talking, Charles can suddenly see hundreds of people in the room on their knees praying. Charles, there are others here. Eric nods. Charles, who are they? Eric, they are believers. This is their home. Charles, I feel so much joy, a lightness, a euphoria. Eric, the cross is the place of forgiveness, washing. You've been made new. Not just your eyesight has been changed, your heart too. Charles, I thought the cross was a historical event. Eric, it is much more than that. It is the vestibule and the entryway into the kingdom of heaven. It's the gold-paved pathway unto the Father. Through the wounds of Jesus we enter. Through the wounds of Jesus we are changed. Through the wounds of Jesus we discover what living truly is. And it is right here at the cross that the church lives in this world. Charles, in the war zone, in the place of suffering. Eric, precisely. This is the place of battle, light against darkness, life versus death. We live here because this is where all who would be saved, like you, must first come. Charles looks around him at all the praying saints. Charles, is this the church? Eric, yes, but it is just one small local piece of the church. This is the church I pastor. Charles, but what are they all doing? Eric, they've been praying for you to see. Charles, for me? For how long? Eric, they started about 2 months ago when they heard word of your loss. Charles swallows hard. Charles, but how did they know about that? Eric, the Church of Jesus Christ feels what God feels. When your daughter died in that accident, one of our members was the paramedic on site. He came to us with the news. We felt your loss. We grieved with you. The Spirit of God gave us his personal ache for you and your wife. And he also gave us his ache to see you come here and be rescued. Charles, you were praying for me that whole time. Eric nods. Charles ponders this information. He looks around the room at the praying saints, tears streaming down his cheek. Eric looks at him with a tender smile on his face. Eric, this is your home now, Charles. Charles, I feel a strange, heavy weight inside me. Eric, I feel it too. Charles, what am I supposed to do with it? Eric, you need to begin to pray. God is showing you that he wants your wife to join you in this cell. Charles, could you please teach me how to pray? How to do all this? Eric, it would be my privilege. The end. Isn't this fun, guys? See, now you're going to all start writing out your vision forms in play form. It's hard to enunciate the things that are inside of us, that God deposits. However, when God deposits something, he doesn't intend it to be miscarried. One of the things that God is reminding me of in this time is that the things that he has stowed away inside of me and that deep vision for something more is still his vision. That even though I've gone through all sorts of twists, turns, aches, pains, griefs, traumas, that he is consistently working in my life to bring about his ends. I've oftentimes used the illustration, if God had called me to go out through those double doors, my simple solution would be to walk straight out those doors. However, when God gives you a vision in front of you, the first thing you do is give it up, because the first thing he may do is lead you over to the piano, and then to the back storage room, and then to the back booth, and then to the rear bookstore. It's like, God, this isn't where I thought you were taking me. But every single location he's given you is giving you a gem of truth. He's given you a character dimensionality that is critical to going through those doors. There is no wasted time in God's purposes. Our job is to keep watering the things that he has given us, even if it seems like he's leading us in the opposite direction. If he has given you something, take it seriously. Guys, who's the sheriff in this western town? You have an enemy that wants to spoil, disturb, distract you from your purpose. God has given you something, walk in it. If we know the answer to that question, there is no stopping us. If you guys would like to get the notes for that, you can grab that. That's the QR code to finish. I'm just going to finish with prayer. Father, you are the sheriff in this western town. And though there is bad Charles and his quartets that are seeking to stop our forward movement, Lord, we submit to you and we say, bring out your six-shooter, Lord. Show us the truth. May we build our lives upon a rock. And may you foster those visions that you have imparted to us. Those little burdens, I pray that we would bring them to full maturity. And Lord, this very specific vision that you are stirring within me, I set it before you, and I ask that you would amplify its impact and that you would share it with all those that you are wanting to bring into it. Lord, we love you and submit to you. It's in the name of Jesus that we ask this. Amen.